with you laying on pianos and stuff. And
I'm not laying on pianos. The piano would not survive if that were to happen.
just laying on the piano. Pianos are sturdy.
It's dramatic effect.
Oh, shoot. Mm-hmm. Whatever. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Maximize Monday. Were we off last week? No, it was a holiday.
Holiday, yep.
It was Labor Day, so we were off, but we are back today, and we're so glad that you all have joined us on today. Church folks, especially like preachers, everything is on this, on today,
Oh, yeah.
on this evening, on tonight, on tomorrow, on. I don't know why we do that. Everything's just on.
Is that proper? Is that grammatically correct?
I probably, Black church, we make up stuff. On this evening, on today, on tomorrow,
today,
on a Friday, on this.
I
don't know. But we are here on today.
On today.
Please do us a favor and share. If you missed service yesterday, which was absolutely awesome, go back and watch it. And as we continue to learn about decision making and making good decisions, making sure they're spiritual, there's serenity in them. I just had them. I just said them this morning. And it just left my brain. But go back and watch the message from yesterday. I remember the scriptures, and go back and watch them. Decision making is important because decisions determine destiny. And sometimes we don't pay attention to how a decision today may not affect you tomorrow. They can affect you next week. The effects can come a month from now, a year from now, or sometimes even years. You start to see those negative effects, the effects of a decision.
Yeah.
Positive or negative. And hey, Dana.
Hey.
And I think there's a reason why the scripture says, "Be not weary in well doing, for in due season you reap if you faint not." The consistency of doing the right thing. The Bible tells us to do that because of temptation to stop doing the right thing when it looks like it's not working is very, very, very strong. Because there are seasons where you're doing the right thing, nothing's happening, and you have to continue in making the right choices and believe that due season is coming. What is due season? The season that you needed. That the outcome, the results of those decisions will eventually catch up to you. It's almost like trying to lose weight, working out, eating right. Usually the first couple weeks, month or so, you don't see anything. Then all of a sudden something happens and all of a sudden just boom, it just starts kicking in. But it starts with that consistency, which I'm getting back on because while I was away, I had a drink on every day. In the South, man, Waffle House, Bojangles,
it's
just
different.
I was acting the fool. But consistency is important to growth, to development, to progress. And to be able to maintain that consistency, again, it's hard because evil seems to reward you quicker.
Mm-hmm.
You do something bad, you get a quick pleasure, quick response. So it feels easier to do because the immediacy of the result. The problem is you can get the immediate result, but the consequences aren't usually immediate. Maya's frozen, so I read something years ago that if sin was like a debit card, most of us wouldn't do it. But because sin is like a credit card, eventually the bill comes due. It's easy for us to keep doing wrong because the bill doesn't come due immediately. All right. If sin was like a debit card where as soon as you do wrong, consequences hit you, most of us wouldn't be inclined to do as much. But because sin has a way of giving you immediate pleasure with, consequences that come later, it's oftentimes easier to do. Hey, y'all. I'm sorry. I just started talking. What's up, Sharon? Hey, Karen. Hey, everybody. Welcome on in. Keisha, Dana. Hi, Natalie or Natalia. Natalie, welcome. Sharon, welcome. First time, type VIP in the chat. Hello, everybody. Yeah, instant gratification. It gives it to you right then and there. It's like eating something you're not supposed to eat. Eating it feels good. Oh, and then results kick in. And
Feel it later.
it's like I'm pretty sure Maya eating crayons around every Halloween.
Candy corn.
My crayon candy corn. There's a much difference. Candy corn, crayon, all the same. It's
whatever.
Has come.
Wait, what did Pastor Tyra say yesterday? Oh
no.
Oh,
Don't include that in this. don't include this. Don't include it. Yeah, you might as well eat an orange cone.
oh boy.
It's just but consequences. Consistency. We might as well talk about this today then. At least I think so. Consistency has nothing to do with your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency is everything to do with your commitment, your decision to do what you got to do. If consistency is based off feelings, you're not going to survive.
Yeah.
Something I was actually studying this before we came on, and I'm getting ready for noonday and talking through the scripture about hearing and not hearing the word and doing the word and hearing and not doing. If you're waiting for a feeling to do something, you're going to be waiting for a long time. Sometimes, I know this is the case with me, if I don't feel like doing something, once I start doing it, the feeling kicks in. And once we start getting in a habit of doing, eventually the feeling starts to come to you and you start getting in the rhythm while you're working. Mm-hmm. You didn't start off that way, but you have to start off with just doing. And as you do, feelings will come.
Yeah.
It's like your internet is back. I've been talking for 8 minutes.
Has it been 8 minutes? No, I think it's true. And like you said, sometimes you just got to start in order to build that momentum and to discover some of the things that you might like, having to go through the process of things. Mm-hmm. I always think that sometimes we don't know what we like until we push ourselves to do it. You know what I mean? And, I always wonder, like, how much are we holding ourselves back from just because we don't like the first moment of how it feels to start something, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For some people, I heard somebody say, well, Bishop said it too, that the biggest hurdle isn't usually from 1 to 2, it's from 0 to 1. It's just starting. Mm-hmm. And what I've learned is that just put one foot in front of the next and just start. Even if you start small.
Yeah.
Just start. And the older I get, how can I say this nicely? My patience for people who find every reason why not to start is still there, but it's not as strong as before. Mm-hmm. It's like, just start something.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it all together. Just plan, and start somewhere.
Yeah. But I think that's part of the problem, because we want to conquer Rome in like the first day. We want to do it all. And, sometimes things just don't work like that. And so we see that as a failure, instead of saying, okay, this is just the first step. I'll accomplish more tomorrow.
Yeah, start. Even if it's small, like those of you who want to write a book or write something, you talk to any writer. It amazes me how such great writers have such a hard time writing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You would think they'll just go over and some of them say, I just sat in front of the computer, typed one paragraph. It took me 2 hours, but the premise is at least they start.
Yeah.
Even if what you use write as an example, even if what you write makes no sense at all, just write.
Mm-hmm.
Go back and proofread it later. Just get it out. Don't pay attention to how it reads. It could be completely horrible, but at least you got something to work with. You can go back and edit it, rephrase things, but just start.
Yeah.
And some people are wonderful starters, but horrible finishers.
Mm-hmm.
You got 4 things you started, and instead of finishing, you just start something new.
Yeah.
I think for those people, you can get addicted to starting. It's the thrill of starting, but the consistency part isn't thrilling, so we don't follow through. Because starting is enjoying. It kind of gets you going. It excites you because it's thrilling. It's new. They're professional starters, but bad finishers. And some people are horrible starters, but great finishers. They just need somebody to. They just need a push.
Mm-hmm.
But once they get going, they follow it through. You got to discover whether you're a bad starter or a bad finisher, and then start working on those areas and figure out why you're a bad starter.
Yeah.
Fear. Why are you a bad finisher? Fear, whatever it is, figure it out so you can start. You want to allow that side of you to hurt you.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, it can be the thought, okay, now I've accomplished all these many things. Now what? So if you don't ever finish, you always have something to look forward to, for lack of better words.
I think the problem is that sometimes we don't have a goal after the goal.
Mm-hmm.
So we achieve the goal and I'm done. But what's next after that?
Mm-hmm.
I'll use again. It's the first thing that came to my mind. It's like people who lose weight for an event versus in shape for a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
If my goal is just the event or to hit this certain weight, as soon as I hit it, what's the first thing I'm gonna go back and do? Back and go back and eat, right? But and I'm not talking about size, I'm just talking about just in general. If being in good health is a lifestyle for you, this is why they tell you oftentimes, like when you're working out, don't pay attention to the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Because the scale will mess you up. Just focus on being healthy, right? Your clothes will tell you, just focus on that.
Yep.
The goal after the goal. So if you have a business, okay, I hit this marker financially. What's the next goal? If you have no other goal, if you have nothing to pursue, you eventually will start to decline.
Yeah.
Stay here forever. All right, sorry.
No, it's true. It's very true. And I don't know if it's a millennial thing, because I feel like we're very task oriented, where we meet this one thing, okay, now what? And so we define so much of ourselves in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's just not happening, you can get very lost.
I think it's a generation. It's not a generation. It happens to every age group.
Mm-hmm.
But I think millennials, this online group, we're so. I'm not millennial. It's just so.
Going back, yeah.
Everything is this.
Uh-huh.
So if you feel like you're not in this,
mm-hmm.
you're a failure, because the assumption is everybody else is accomplishing, doing. I'm like, y'all, stop paying attention to what everybody else is doing, because some of what they're saying ain't even true.
Yeah.
They'll post stuff and you would think that they accomplished all this, and some people have, so I'm not knocking that. But it'll have you thinking that everybody is just this, got it all together, until you get to know the person. You like, none of us have it all together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that, I'm on my grind, gotta hustle. I'm all for working hard. I'm all for working, hustling. I ain't got no problem with that. But don't let it be deceptive. That's all I'm saying. And you feel bad because you didn't accomplish X, Y, and Z by the time you were 30. When most people don't do. I was listening to somebody talk about this a couple weeks ago. Most people don't do their best work until they're like their 50s or 60s.
Dude, you have so much more experience. Yeah.
Work is usually the older you get, the best. That's when your best work comes.
Mm-hmm.
You got life, like you said. You got experience. You got know-how. Most people's best years, work-wise, are older in life.
Mm-hmm. But still, the struggle is real. It is. And I think because of that,
what do you mean by the struggle is real?
The struggle, because there is a pressure to perform and to look like you're successful, because you don't want to let your parents down and so on and so forth. But I think because of that, it can be hard to see the things that you are doing and to find value in that, because it's life for the person. It's hard to see from the outside in just how much you are achieving and where you're going in life. If that makes sense.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Often ask this: is the struggle external or internal?
No, it's internal.
There you go. Okay. All right.
It's definitely internal.
The pressure we put on ourselves
Uh-huh.
based off an assumption.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not real. It's pressure we create within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's a heavy, I get it. That's a heavy weight to carry. It's like I hear people say, well, the world, there's so much pressure because the world says I'm supposed to be this. And my question is like, who told you had to do that?
Mm-hmm.
What's the world? Who came and knocked on your door and said, you have to do this? And then if they did, does that person's perception and viewpoint really matter that much?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's probably how we're filtering.
Definitely.
I think this is good. This is why it's good to disconnect from stuff sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying disconnect like emotionally, but disconnect from all that's going on and kind of focus on what's real, not what we perceive to be as real, if I can say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was, I'm not that old, but there was a time where people say, get out of college, you get married, 2.5 kids, 4-bedroom house, right? And and I'm like, how many people actually have that in their early 20s?
Mm-hmm.
Virtually none.
It feels like everybody. All my friends got married.
I'm talking about the whole everything.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, it's like, I'm cool with people getting married and all that stuff like that. But are we in everybody's relationships to even know that some of these people are even happy? But again, when the goal is just to have the look.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying some people are in great, happy marriage. I'm not saying it, but I'm just saying like it's easy for us to compare because we're looking from the outside and not actually from the inside of what's going on in this person's life.
Yeah.
I told you about that time. That one young lady, she had like 4 million Instagram followers, and people thought she was paid. And she went to pay her electric, which she was late on, and the girl that she had to pay electric bill to, it's like, hey, I follow you. I know who you are. And she was so embarrassed because the view is if you got all these followers, you got to be making all this money. And she's struggling to keep her electric on. And again, it's just perception. But then it goes back to this. Is my goal to please God?
Right.
And live his life for me? Or is the goal to live a life where I'm approved of by everybody else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even going back to what Ron just said, we can definitely miss an opportunity to portray Christ in the lives of others. It's not going on the screen. I'm using an old computer. We can miss the opportunity to portray Christ in the lives of others if we focus on what appears to be the success of others.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think it's so important to, just like you said, live in honor to God and servants and how you treat other people,
Mm-hmm.
because I think God honors that. You know, He knows, like you said, the desires of our hearts. And as we work toward Him, you know, as long as it's His desires, like He'll bless us in those ways.
Yeah. And now that you were bringing that up, thanks, Ron, and even some of the stuff that you said, Maya. Would you read Philippians, especially Philippians chapter 3, I believe it is, um, when Paul talks about I was a Pharisee of a Pharisee, the tribe of Benjamin. He's like, Paul. Paul was the man. I mean, before even before he got saved, he was on the Sanhedrin, which was religious council. I mean, at a young age, he was mentored by one of the greatest Pharisees. I mean, he's listened to all these accolades, these secular things. And he says, but when I consider them and compare them to knowing Jesus, they're nothing but dung to me.
Mm-hmm.
All my accomplishments compared to me pursuing Jesus are absolute waste. And he says this one thing, and he starts talking about, I press towards the mark. And what is that mark? To know Jesus. That's the most important thing to me. And I think sometimes we merge American success with God's success.
Mm-hmm.
When God's success is us knowing Him, pleasing Him, and doing His will. And I'm not saying that the other things, having a nice job, business, all that stuff that God can't do. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is focus of the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's saying if you compare the two, all my accomplishments, all my successes are done. I'll give all that up to know Jesus more. And you don't hear a lot of people talk like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't have business success. All those things are great. Have money, all that. We all want money. Amen. But Paul's showing us the focus, the goal. The American dream, it's not scripture.
Yeah.
Life more abundantly ain't got nothing. When Jesus talked about life more abundantly in John 10, ain't got nothing to do with how much money you have.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to do with that. Again, I'm not against having money. I like money. I ain't against nice house. I like nice house. And I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is our focus can be off because we judge our relationship with God and our salvation or success based off of secular things at the expense of knowing Jesus. That's how you got people in countries. Bishop talked about people when he went to Ecuador and all these other places. Their joy they had didn't have all the stuff that we got, all the options we got, but they know God. And I think we have to learn to prioritize knowing Jesus more than being known for all of our secular accomplishments. I know I ranted a little bit, but that's the mark that Paul's pressing towards, is to know Him, the power of His resurrection, the fellowship of His sufferings. That's the most important thing to Him. And I think if we keep that perspective, then we won't feel as bad if we don't have all these things that secular world says is true accomplishment.
Right.
Again, not against having a great business. Do all that stuff. I want your business to thrive. Priorities.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say there's a difference between, constantly being on a search for that, on that quest of, getting the next thing done. As you said, like there's a different peace that's there when it's just you and Jesus, right? Because there's peace in Him. So Yeah, I got some thinking to do.
Yeah,
I think we all can, because it's easy. It's easy to, I think, get off track because those things feel good. But like going back to how we started this, it doesn't last.
It doesn't at all. And again, I'm all for you got a business, be successful. I'm all for you making as much money you want to make. I am not saying that. But what I am saying is priorities is at the end of the day, when we go to heaven, God's not going to say, hey, well done, good entrepreneur. Well done, good spouse. Well done, good business leader. Well done, rich person. Well done, great parent. He's going to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. All of our earthly accomplishments, great. But at the end of the day, that's not the thing that God's going to celebrate you over. He's going to celebrate us for being his child and being his servant. And again, we can get caught up in all these other things that when you die, you can't take with you. When our true focus should be God, the most important. Everything else falls under that. Because what happens if your whole identity is based off your money, your accomplishments, what happens if one day something breaks out, you lose all your money, you lose that house you love, your spouse dies, your kids act a fool, what happens? What do you fall back on if those things are your identity? But if your identity is in God, come on, Job. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. The Lord gave, Lord take away. I'm not saying I don't want none of us to have a Job situation, but blessed be the name of the Lord. Where's our true identity founded in? Because people, places, and things are temporal. God is eternal. And one of the things during the pandemic that I hope that I had a lot of hope. I had a lot of hope in the beginning was that getting back to the basics of, Jesus, God, studying the scriptures, God being the focus. Because now we saw, what happens when a lot of stuff is taken away from you. And you can't go out and do X, Y, and Z. Or you don't have the money for such and such and so and so. And what people discovered, they based a lot of their identity on all these things. And guess what? We think things open back up again. They went right back to
those old habits.
And then forgot about all the stuff that the pandemic was meant to teach us. That, hey, life can come quick, but God is the most important thing. Read Philippians. All right, I'm sorry.
No, I think that's a good way to end it. All of it's very true.
I'm just saying, it's a reality of. They used to call back and they keeping up with the Joneses. That's when you spend the money you don't have just to look,
Yeah.
Now it's keeping up with whatever because you online, keeping up with an appearance. When we've made we've tied our value to all the wrong stuff. And I mean, all of us can be guilty of it. We've tied our value to just, how come I'm not here where this person is? And how come I'm not here where this person is? Maybe your purpose may be different than theirs, or they could be doing something different than you. Or you're pursuing your idea of what your life's supposed to look like and not what God's is. We've talked about. Go ahead. Okay.
Maybe we can talk about this for next week because I know we're short on time. But how do you, when you feel like your purpose is aligned in one area, but God's pulling you somewhere else? Because I think that can leave you feeling very unsettled sometimes.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion right there. God, we can talk about more next week. God is a pro at messing up your plans to bring you into his. He is a pro. Walking by the seashore, you fishing, doing everything you were trained to do, and he says, "Follow me, and you'll become." Come on, I'm changing. You built this life for you. I'm gonna show you how to walk in. I'm teaching this to new Nate. Funny. I'm teaching you how to figure out my purpose for your life. You had an idea. You built your whole life up. I'm getting ready to shatter it so I can build you up to my life, my idea for who you are. You know, but God has a way of Levi, tax collector. Jesus walks up to him. Come on, man. Time to change your plans. Time to change them. What's the dude that Zacchaeus? I know you out here tax collecting, but you hear me coming. I'm changing plans. Zacchaeus, I'm gonna give half my money away. If I did anybody wrong, we'll make it right. And Jesus says, salvation has come to your house. God has a way of knocking down the idols we create. And the idols that he's knocking down is not some statue on your mantle. The idol he knocks down is the image we created of ourselves. Because we can make our own selves idols. I was reading something somewhere in the Psalms where the Bible talks about if you make an idol, you end up becoming like that idol. Good for nothing. Because all idols can do is fail you. And one of the biggest idols we need to learn to tear down before God does is the idols of our own selfishness, the idol of our idea for ourselves. And Bishop's been talking about it. Who's God? What's God? How does God identify us? And learning to adopting that identity. Y'all gonna make me preach a sermon in here. This is not easy. This is very hard. You know, because a lot of it we put our pride into what we built. And we feel like I built it for nothing. Not necessarily true. I'll say this last point. We'll talk about next week. Jesus comes to Peter and he says, your name will no longer be Simon. Your name will be Cephas. Simon, name means stone. Cephas, name means stone. It's not that God wanted him to stop being a stone. I just need to change the type of stone that you are. It's not that God doesn't remove your strengths and your abilities. What he does is he shifts them to working for his purpose. I don't want you to stop being a fisherman. I just want you to change what you fish for. So what you did secularly or what you did sinful wise, God can sanctify that and uses it for his glory and his benefit. So he doesn't waste any of that. He doesn't waste it. He just transforms it, to glorify him. Not, that he transforms that thing so you can, so a drug dealer who can be good at selling things, God can use that selling ability where you no longer sell drugs, but now you're persuading people about him. He just transforms and sanctifies what you do well. So instead of looking at like I lost time, what can I learn from it so it won't be a loss?
Yeah.
You went to college for one thing, spent all that money, and ended up doing something else that had nothing to do with you. But what did you learn that God can use now? How can he sanctify that where you use all the stuff you learned in life for him now?
Yeah. And I think that's important because I feel like it's the last trick of the enemy and how you're perceiving yourself and the things that you went through and your experiences, you're having guilt of them instead of saying, okay, like you just said, how can I use this to be to the glory of God?
How can what can I learn from it?
That's the transformation.
There you go. And once you learn from it, then you can grow from it. But you have to find a way to learn from it. All right. I got to get to my children. So anyway. Thank you for listening to our TED Talk. And read through the book of Philippians. There's only 4 chapters. You can read through it today or read through it today or tomorrow. And just when you see Paul talk about, especially chapter 3, I accomplished all this stuff, but when it comes to Jesus, it's nothing. It's nothing. My main focus is on knowing him, not my secular accomplishments. Secular accomplishments are great. Not saying that. Wonderful. But your life is more than just having a lot of followers and have a lot of money and all that stuff like that. Because all that stuff can go just like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. The Lord be with you. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. You guys have a great day. Don't forget to join us tomorrow night. We have Diamonds Women's Ministry in person and online, right?
No, so Diamonds doesn't start until October. So they're still virtually until then.
Okay.
But they'll be live on Facebook and YouTube at 7 p.m.
Cool.
Yep. And then on Wednesday.
Yep. Bible study Wednesday.
Yep.
Hold
on, let me put my calendar. I believe we have Sound Mind this Thursday.
Sound Mind.
At 7 p.m. Yep.
And we have some Abundant Harvest Bible Institute classes coming up. You can go to our website, click HBI. You can take some classes start this month. And Pastor Prescott and I have a class. Well, she has a class. We both our classes start in October. I think Pastor Grice and Reverend Jackson's class start this month. Go on and check it out, and it'll really bless your life and change your life. All right, y'all. Have a great day.
Bye.
All right, bye.